Welcome in Locked On Sixers POSTCAST. My name's Mark Farzetta. We're going to break it all down as the Sixers get a huge 109-105 victory over the Miami Heat. Playoff implications, of course, in this game. Splitting the season series against the Heat on the line in this game. Tyrese Maxey coming back and absolutely dominant for the 76ers in a 37-point performance. Just one digit shy of a 37-point triple-double, what would have been his first in his career for Tyrese Maxey, the first-time All-Star this year. Also the first time since January 30th that he and Joel Embiid were on the court. We'll let you know how the big man and rating MVP of the NBA was doing, how many minutes he logged in this victory. And again, Kelly Oubre coming up huge to help the 76ers close out their latest victory. Don't forget, this postcast is brought to you by the great people of FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. Let's break it all down here on 76ers Postcast.
You are Locked On 76ers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Philadelphia, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Mark Farzetta. Thanks for joining me on the 76ers Postcast. You knew it was going to be a big game. You were hoping you would have Joel Embiid in back-to-back games. Certainly not back-to-back nights for the Sixers, but at least back-to-back games. Last time he was out there on the court, he made his return from the meniscus injury, his first game in a little over 2 months, logged 29 minutes. Well, tonight he logged 33 minutes for the Sixers. Last time he dropped 24 points. This time he dropped 29 points. Things are looking up for the big man. But what really impressed me was Tyrese Maxey right out of the gate for the Sixers. Missed the last 3-4 games with hip tightness. You don't want to hear that about a young star, but nonetheless, hip tightness. So he misses a couple of games there for the Sixers, misses Joel Embiid's return Tuesday night, and then tonight, Thursday, he's in Miami taking on the Heat. The Heat had just jumped up to the 6th playoff seed. Sixers still, unfortunately, right now looking at the play-in tournament as far as that goes, but trying to climb their way out of it as the season winds down. Even with the Heat on the schedule, the Sixers' schedule to end the season was the easiest on paper to have to end the season in all the NBA. So knocking the Heat out of the way they did tonight is a fantastic thing to get this win. And hopefully the rest of this season, they're just able to hit cruise control, concentrate on players getting back like Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey getting back into the swing of things, and they're able to cruise into the playoffs and maybe, fingers crossed, out of that play-in tournament. But as far as Tyrese Maxey goes tonight, I was wowed by his performance. The second the tip-off happened, he gained possession of the ball and then cut hard to the basket for a lay-in, and just like that, he was off and running. 8 of the Sixers' first 10 points scored by Tyrese Maxey, virtually doing it all in the victory tonight. He was hitting threes. He was coming up with steals. He was attacking the basket. He was getting to the free throw line. He was doing everything you want to see from him, really what he was doing before the hip injury. And to see him be able to take off that way, the way he started the game tonight, was a thing of beauty. Just to sum it up for you here, Maxey gets the ball immediately, gets 2 points for the Sixers in their first bucket. Then he's able to knock down back-to-back threes. Oubre had a dunk in between there to help get the Sixers up 10-0. Then it was the Embiid show. He was able to pull up from the elbow and knock down a shot. Then he pulled up from the elbow again on the ensuing possession. Next thing you know, before you even blink, it's 17-2 in favor of the 76ers. Kyle Lowry even helped him get started off in this game by knocking down a 3 in the early goings of that first quarter. But seeing Maxey get off to his start, shortly thereafter, seeing Joel Embiid get off to the start that he got into in this game, and Kyle Lowry helping out as well, a fantastic sight for sore eyes, because I know most of you, I know I'm here as well, when you look at the 76ers, you're eagerly awaiting the playoffs to start, because your season doesn't even really start until the postseason. We've been trained as Sixers fans to just, all right, how far can this team go? Can they get out of the second round? And I know for a lot of people, that's still the bar. That ain't the bar for me. Maybe when Joel Embiid was 25, that was the bar, but now he's 30 years old. The bar is no longer just getting out of the second round. And I know you might say, just get out of the second round. You want to see him get past that second round. You want to see him get past the Eastern Conference Finals. You want to see him get into the playoffs. Now, or should get into the NBA Finals. For me, the way Tyrese Maxey played tonight, the way Joel Embiid played tonight, and then finally the way Kelly Oubre was able to help close out this game along with Tyrese Maxey in that fourth quarter, that's a team that's ready to win the playoffs. Because one of the things that was so crazy about this game was the runs. And we'll get into it when it comes to the Sixers starting off on their 17-2 run, and then the Heat respond. And the next thing you know, in the second quarter, the Heat go on a 17-4 run, and then the Sixers are able to come back with a run of their own, 20-1 at one point. And then the third quarter, the Sixers just take it on the chin in that fourth quarter, losing by 9 points in the quarter alone. Then things started to look like it was going to be all Heat all the time to close out the fourth quarter. And Kelly Oubre came up huge, along with some clutch shooting from KJ Martin, able to attack the rim, Kelly Oubre attacking the rim, and then to help ice it, Kelly Oubre comes up with the steal and the, I won't call it a slam, but lay-in, I guess, at the end of the game there. No, it wasn't a slam on Jimmy Butler, excuse me. Puts it in, no, it was a lay-in on Jimmy Butler, and then he flexed on Jimmy Butler. Now, from our vantage point, watching the game at home, that was the shot that made it 107 to 102. I saw Kelly. I didn't see the flex. I don't know who was down there with him, but I couldn't see him flexing. I could just see him staring at Jimmy Butler. And I was screaming in my living room, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. Because I thought he was taunting Jimmy Butler. Two things I don't like about that. I thought he was taunting Jimmy Butler. I was like, don't wake the snake. Okay. Don't get Jimmy upset. If Jimmy upset means Sixers lose this game. Also, didn't want him called for a taunting penalty or taunting a foul essentially for that. Technical is the word I'm looking for there. Didn't want that to happen. And sure enough, it didn't. He was just flexing. So all is good. And then he's able to help the Sixers ice this game. Terry Rozier hit a three late. That made me a little nervous. That made it 107 to 105. And I thought it's the Terry Rozier show. Scary Terry, all that from a couple of years ago when the Sixers originally lost to the Celtics in the post-Ben Simmons drafting era, if you want to call it that, in that series that Ben Simmons had just 1 point in game 2, I want to say it was. But watching that game, yeah, sweating it out with Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier still haunting the Sixers. Did not come up as clutch as he has. He missed a three. Jimmy Butler missed a three in this game late. Kevin Love missed a corner three late in this game. Those are the shots that the Miami Heat have hit in recent years to help them go from a play-in tournament team to an NBA Finals team. They didn't hit him in this game. They came up small in this game. The clutch shots that they needed to make, they missed. They clanked the clutch shots they usually made. And guess what? I ain't mad. I ain't mad even a little bit. Butler had that missed three, yeah, and then Maxey was able to come up with the basketball, and then he took it down the other end after he was fouled to really put the game out of touch, and ended up being a 109-105 Sixers victory. Everything I saw from Maxey, Embiid, and Oubre, this is a team that looks like they're ready to be better than a play-in team. Now it's just up to them controlling their own destiny and making sure they continue this push during, again, the easiest schedule in the NBA from here on out. Now, I know you look at some other teams. We'll look at that. We'll look at it again in the final segment of the program. But, man, with the way they were able to rally in this game, especially through all the runs on both sides, when they needed to take control, they took control. We'll break it down even further coming up in just a minute here. But first, I got to tell you guys about the amazing, the incredible Amazon Fire TV. Are you guys looking at this? If you're not looking at it, it's amazing. Fire TV, it's your destination for sports. For live games to highlights to in-depth analysis, Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs as well as the TV Fire Stick. The Fire TV stick is incredible. Now, you can plug it right into an existing TV that provides access to millions of movies and TV episodes, as well as free and live TV. You want to watch basketball? You want to watch baseball? How about college tournament going on? Whatever it is, you're going to want to have Amazon Fire TV. Fire TV recently created Fire TV channels to deliver constant supply of the latest videos from your favorite sports brands, all for free. And that does include us here at Locked On. So catch us on Fire TV as well on the Fire TV channels with Locked On and most big pro leagues and college conferences also. Fire TV even has great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, and cooking videos. Not too shabby. Get on with Fire TV channels and Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Learn more. Visit Amazon.com/LockedOnFireTV. So make sure you take advantage of all Amazon Fire TV has to offer. Let's not forget about the incredible people at FanDuel as well. The sports calendar loaded, and FanDuel's making it even more exciting to get in on all the action. Right now, new customers get $200. That's $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200. You can use it to bet on the tourney. You can use it to bet on the MLB, NBA, NHL, so much more as well. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn and make your first bet a big win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. To spin it back to the game tonight, ladies and gentlemen, watching Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey work hand in hand with one another was awesome. There was one scary moment tonight. In the third quarter, aside from everything that was going on with the scoring, both these teams going bonkers, the Sixers unfortunately turning it over as many times as they turned it over in this game, especially in that third quarter, that allowed the Heat to close out the fourth quarter on an 8-0 run close out the third quarter going into the fourth quarter on 8-0 run on the Sixers after already winning that quarter by 9 points. But there was an instance where Joel Embiid got involved, and now I don't want to call it a tussle, but it was going for the ball. It was a loose ball situation. He dives out of bounds, bench side, right in front of Nick Nurse. And I forget who it was for the Heat, comes down and lands on Joel Embiid's knee. To me, the original angle looked like it was the right knee for Joel Embiid, the knee that he did not just have surgery on, the knee that just not held him out since January 30th up until 2 days ago. And then they showed the other angle, and during the TV broadcast, Ala Al-Danabi, the color analyst, of course, of the 76ers, said, oh, at least it wasn't his left knee. And then they showed the other angle. It was his left knee. I know there's a lot of Sixers fans already that just hit the ground. Every time Joel Embiid hits the ground, they just start praying. They just start, oh my God, it's going to happen. Please don't let it happen. They start sweating. He got up. He played. He didn't show any ill effects of getting hit in that same knee. Another great sign for Joel Embiid. Something else that really jumped out to me about Joel Embiid's performance tonight. Similar to what he did in the first game. And watching his substitutions, this is very different than what Nick Nurse had Joel Embiid doing prior to January 30th. Okay. Before Joel Embiid was injured, generally speaking, you could say this is going to change again because he's just nursing him back, no pun intended. But I like this type of rotation. I like this allotment of time for Joel Embiid. Again, gets it up to 33 minutes tonight. Fine. But before Joel Embiid was hurt, he was playing all of the first quarter, sitting the first 6-7 minutes of the second quarter, and then he'd start the third, play most of the third, maybe get subbed out with 2 minutes left, and then he'd come in around the 7-minute mark of the fourth quarter. That was, generally speaking, how Nick Nurse was deploying the services of Joel Embiid throughout a game. And I know you want to keep him fresh, but in terms of trying to keep him fresh, have him work back into game shape, as we all know, also don't overload the knee in his return. Watching this type of allotment for Joel Embiid, seeing how he is being used, he goes into the game, he obviously starts the game, comes out at the 6:08 mark, sits for a couple of minutes, comes back in the first quarter at 2:02. Second quarter, almost the exact same thing, plays until 6:06 of the second quarter, comes back in at comes back in at the 2:43 mark of the second quarter. If this is what Nick Nurse is going to do, I love it. Because I hate just not knowing you're not going to have him to start out a quarter is bad. I actually hate that. And if this is, and it probably is, but I'm saying if this is what they decide to stick with, I think this is a great way to utilize Joel Embiid, not just to get him back into game shape, but I'm saying when he is back in game shape, when he is close to the form he was in the middle of January, for instance, I don't mind this. And I think this is a great way to use his talents. And as he's fighting his way back, and as he is getting his conditioning better and better and better, I think that this would be a fantastic way to utilize his skill set and whatever level of stamina he's going to have come playoff time. So if this is not just going to be the rehab assignment or the test for Joel Embiid, I'd like for it to be Joel Embiid. Now, he's going to play more than 33 minutes. He's certainly going to be playing more than 29 minutes. But as the playoffs get underway, and maybe the play-in tournament gets underway, I'll just call it the postseason. When that gets underway, Joel Embiid, of course, will be back closer to that shape that he was in come January. I still don't know if he'll be able to get to that within the next week. But by the time the playoffs come around, that's when we'll be looking at Joel Embiid to really get back to that mid-January form before he went out with that injury. And you can't forget, 35 points per game, putting up numbers like Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, anytime you see a list, it's Wilt Chamberlain's name. Joel Embiid just did this. He's the first person to do it since Wilt Chamberlain. Well, that's what Joel Embiid was doing. He was the MVP of the league. He was on pace to be, have his second consecutive MVP season. I know that's not the goal for Sixers fans. The goal is to have a parade down Broad Street at some point in Philadelphia. But when it comes to Joel Embiid, you just want to see him continue to take those giant leaps forward. Seeing him play 4 more minutes tonight, I saw a lot of the same thing that he was doing in his first game back. You saw the pull-up jumpers. You saw him actually hit a couple of threes in this game, which was great. You saw him get those rebounds. You saw him do a lot of the things that you know he's capable of doing. So, again, the knee is not an issue for him. It's just a matter of the conditioning. To be able to say that with him for 2 games now is a fantastic thing. Also, you're looking at Joel Embiid. Like I said, he came up with 29 points, just 4 rebounds tonight. One complaint I did have with the Sixers is they were getting owned on the glass. Absolutely owned on the glass, and especially with second chance opportunities on the offensive glass for the Heat. That was a big sticking point for me because even with Terry Rozier being a little bit off, even with Jimmy Butler missing that 3 late, even with Kevin Love missing that shot late, they're coming up with second chance opportunities. And I just know that one of these is going to go down. And fortunately, it didn't happen. So the Sixers got lucky in that regard. But one of the things I really liked about Joel Embiid's game tonight is that it was, for the most part, the same. You saw him do the same things he did 2 nights ago, whether it was a pull-up from the elbow, whether it was a 3-point shot, whether it was the attempt to try to set up a teammate. Only 4 assists tonight as opposed to the 7 he had the other night. This is what you want to see from Joel Embiid. Just continued, not stat padding by any means, but just continued success in what he's setting out there on the court to do with nothing impeding his progress. And that's what I saw tonight from Joel Embiid. As far as Tyrese Maxey coming back from his injury, I didn't see anything from Tyrese Maxey that said he was out with any sort of hip tightness or anything like that. I mentioned what he did to start the game, how he got the Sixers started with 8 of their first 10 points. Well, looking back over that fourth quarter, Maxey's the one that really started the charge back. In that fourth quarter, Maxey and Payne come up with big threes on back-to-back possessions, but Maxey's the one that started them off. 95-93 is after their back-to-back threes. That's what the score was. 95-93 was still the Miami Heat in the lead. Then after that, the Sixers, unfortunately, have a couple of turnovers there. 3 turnovers in the first 3 minutes of the fourth quarter. That's what they had to overcome. That's when Maxey started to cook. Maxey had a great step-back baseline jump shot down there. It made it 102-96 to help the Sixers pull in front. And then Martin came up with that big layup, made it 102-100. There was one thing, and I know KJ Martin is not going to get all the calls. All right? So I'm not petitioning the league or anything, but good God. Did Kevin Love go straight up? If you're the referee, you're looking at Kevin Love go straight up. He went straight up into KJ Martin. That's a foul. Nurse lost his mind. KJ Martin was like, what the hell's going on here? Either way, that should have been a foul. He ended up getting another bucket to help the Sixers cause. But then, again, Maxey came up with that baseline shot, another baseline shot with about 2:30 left in the game. That made it a 105-102 Sixers lead. Then Kelly Oubre came up with the steal and the lay-in over Jimmy Butler and the flex to make it 107-105. And that was how the Sixers really took control. But what really impressed me with Maxey, just getting back to him, the control. There was one play early in the fourth quarter where I think it was Paul Reed trying to set a screen for him at the top of the key, and the screen really didn't stick. So Maxey is at the top of the key, dribbles to his right, dribbles to his left, to try to use the screen from Paul Reed. There's help defense right there in front of him. He crosses over, goes back to his right, drifts away, elbow extended, foul line extended, still inside the three-point line, just a step or two inside the perimeter. He pulls up for the jump shot and knocks it down. If there was any tightness in that young man's body, it was gone. It was gone. And you sit for halftime. You don't play as much in the third quarter. You come back in the fourth. Is he going to get tight as the game goes on? That's something I was looking for. How is he going to play in the early goings of the fourth quarter? And he was as fluid as Tyrese Maxey can be. And seeing him step up, and I just talked about him the other night when I was focusing on Joel Embiid, and I was talking about the return of Tyrese Maxey likely being in Miami. Some things I wanted to see from him. Well, through the time without Joel Embiid, you had the first month of the season, the first month after Joel Embiid, that February, Tyrese Maxey averaged about 27.9 points that month. That's almost 3 points more than what he was averaging with Joel Embiid. Previous to Joel Embiid's injury, Maxey was right around that 25 points per game mark. After Embiid got hurt, he went through the month of February, dropping in about 27.9 points per game. That's clutch. That's stepping up when the team needs you to step up. March, he started to trail off a little bit, went back down to that 25 points per game mark. Not terrible, but not great. But what it showed me was, Kelly Oubre was stepping up. He was starting to play well. You had a real quick flash at Tobias Harris actually playing good basketball. And when I say quick flash, there was like 2 games. There were 2 games. There's 2 games. But Maxey needed to be a guy that can help carry the team. Now, one of the things I learned is that Tyrese Maxey is still absolutely unquestionably a great number 2 scorer for a team that has an MVP candidate like Joel Embiid. Maxey, I would love to see him be that 1A guy next to the clear number 1, who is, of course, Joel Embiid. But a night like tonight, where maybe Joel Embiid in that fourth quarter is starting to get a little tired, Tyrese Maxey starts to come up in the clutch. Yeah, sure, you had Kelly Oubre come up with the big plays, but the man that was there controlling the pace of play as your guard, as your point guard, was Tyrese Maxey. And the idea that he knows now, that he has that sense, the sense now, is something he has had as a very mature player and has matured very quickly in the NBA. The idea that he's got it between the ears to know when he could push it, know when he should hold up, know when he can attack, know when to drive, know when to pull up. It's between the ears that Tyrese Maxey, I think, has grown more than any other point in his career. Because I know a lot of people talk about Tyrese Maxey and they talk about, when the second year in the league, look at those numbers were so great. Well, yeah, he was playing a hell of a lot more because of the Ben Simmons fiasco. So, yeah, the numbers are going to go up. I knew he had that talent in him. It was just a matter of actually getting the opportunity to go out there and put it on display. And that's what he was finally able to do. Finally be able to put it out there on display. And ever since then, you'll start to see him get better and better. The step back jumper, the confidence in driving hard to the basket, utilizing his speed in that way. But between the years, knowing when it's a good time to drive the lane and be aggressive, and also knowing when it's a good time to slow it down. Slow it down, baby. Just slow it down. And that's what Tyrese Maxey has really done a phenomenal job of doing lately, even before the brief absence with hip tightness. But that's one of the things I'm really enjoying from Tyrese Maxey, watching him play basketball this season. All right, we're going to look at the remaining schedule and a couple of crazy things that jumped out to me about this 76ers team, especially when it comes to the schedule as the season winds down. We'll get to all that more coming up in a minute. But right now, I got to tell you about this incredible Robinhood. You know what Robinhood is? This is great. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this. Now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right. No cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at Robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claims as of Q1 2024, validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of the first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. A 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer. Here's what the 76ers have going on for themselves to wind out the season, okay? Now, I have mentioned that they have the easiest schedule. I've mentioned that once or twice, all right? So they had the Heat tonight. They got the victory over the Heat. They got the Grizzlies on Saturday. Then on Sunday, they got the Spurs. Those 2 games were on the road. Then the Sixers are home for their final 3 games of the season. Tuesday against the Pistons, April 12th against the Magic, April 14th against against the Brooklyn Nets. I almost went New Jersey Nets there. Okay, here you go. Okay, supposed to be the easiest schedule in the history of humanity, right? Supposed to be the easiest schedule to wind down the season. I'm all for it. The Grizzlies just beat the Bucks. Not cool, Grizzlies. Certainly don't need to see the Grizzlies all of a sudden come into life at the end of the season to try to prove something to everybody else. No thank you, Memphis Grizzlies. It was fun to see Doc Rivers lose again, though. Am I spiteful? Yeah, I'm spiteful. We're all spiteful. So the Grizzlies beat the Bucks. That's exciting. Then the Detroit Pistons, who, in case you haven't been paying attention, are god-awful at basketball, 13-63 going into tonight. What happened just last night with the Pistons? You know what happened last night? A guy who averaged 5.2 points per game in his career dropped 50 points. Now, here's the best part. It was a losing effort. Malachi Flynn, I know the jerseys are flying off the shelves now, dropped 50 points last night on the Atlanta Hawks for the Detroit Pistons. Don't need that. Looking at all these, look at these teams here. They got a 13 win team in the Pistons, and then you got the Grizzlies who are having a terrible season, 25-50 on the year. Spurs 18-58. The Magic, they're pretty good. Nets, the Magic are obviously ahead of the Sixers right now in the standings. And then you got the Nets, 29 wins on the season. I don't need any of these teams coming to life as the Sixers are trying to climb out of play-in tournament status. So please, rest of the NBA for the rest of the season, just mail it in. No Malachi Flynn. Come on. No, we don't need Malachi Flynn dropping 50 points, right? Please and thank you. Pretty please. Mentioned Kelly Oubre today. Mentioned, obviously, Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid. One last thing I wanted to touch on from this Sixers game tonight, which I also thought was fantastic. Nick Nurse. You might say it's an obvious time to call a timeout. But in the second quarter, when the Sixers were really struggling and the Miami Heat started to make their push to get back into the game, you had Highsmith going off on the Sixers. He was able to wrap around Oubre for a beautiful layup. Then he came back down on the next possession, got another layup to tie the game at 43-all. Martin came up, was able to hit a shot there. It was 46-43. Miami still in control, unfortunately. Campaign hit a 3. Maxey hit a floater. But before all that, Nurse called a timeout. And the team responded beautifully from that point on. Maxey had that floater. Then he had a driving layup that actually made it an 11-1 run coming out of that timeout by Nick Nurse. Then Embiid had the N1 situation with that funny high five between him and Kyle Lowry, where Embiid just was like, damn, Kyle, not so hard on the high five, man. I don't want to go out with a hand injury. And then sure enough, after that, Embiid comes up with that. Then Embiid comes up with a 3 that he got from Maxey, 1:45 left in the second quarter. Sixers continued their run. It was 17-1 run at this point. Maxey hit a 3 off a turnover created by Kyle Lowry. Quick hands Kyle Lowry out of North Philly and Cardinal Dougherty. And he comes up there, and next thing you know, it's a 20. It's a 20-1 run for the Sixers in that second quarter. And it all started because you had a 17-4 run by the Heat, a timeout called by Nick Nurse, and whatever was said, whatever was drawn up, whatever was initiated game plan-wise, Sixers got right to it. They responded from that timeout with a 20-1 run. Whatever button Nick Nurse pushed in that timeout, it worked beautifully for your 76ers. Absolutely beautifully. All right, from here on, Sixers 42-35 on the season. They got the Memphis Grizzlies in Memphis. That's going on Saturday. That's Saturday night, 8 o'clock. So it'll be a late game there on Saturday. Well, I think we're going to have 2 shows for you that day. I think we're going to have a Phillies show and then a Sixers show right after that. So not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. So that's 8 o'clock tomorrow night for the Memphis Grizzlies, or excuse me, Saturday night. Memphis Grizzlies and 76ers tipping off for that action right there. As far as the standings go right now, the Sixers are just a half game behind the Miami Heat for the 7th playoff seed, and they are a full game behind the Indiana Pacers, who lost last night. That 6th playoff seed is, if the Sixers are going to do anything, that's the most likely spot that they're going to climb up and get into. So let's cross our fingers for that. Hey, folks, thanks for watching. Don't forget, this is the Locked On Sports YouTube channel for Philadelphia. We talk about all things Philadelphia sports on this YouTube channel. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit up on a comment as well. Say hi. We'll talk about whatever you guys want to talk about after I get done breaking down all these fine games. But of course, once again, ladies and gentlemen, you are watching none other than Locked On 76ers postcast on the Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Subscribe, like, all that great stuff. Comment. Big game in Philly. After the game, we're talking about it right here on the Locked On Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. We're talking about it right here. Hope you guys enjoy. Again, like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Catch you guys tomorrow. I'm Mark Farzetta. See ya.